Hello.
Yes, yes. You can see now what happened was in traditional file processing system, what was happening was it was all not like database. Now, if you are going to build a database, what is a database? A database is a collection of related data. In simple words, database consists of many tables or many relations. Am I clear? Am I
Yes,
clear?
sir.
So database consists
Yes, sir.
of many tables. Now these tables are also termed technically as relations. Am I clear? These tables are also termed
Yes,
as
sir.
relations. Now, if you take up in the file processing system, in the traditional file processing system, what was happening was, now if I wanted to store the details of students, like I need to have separate files. Now one file will consist of student information, student number, student class, student major. Supposing now if I in traditional file processing system, what happens is this table will be in one file and some other file. So now which is the table that is one more table that is related to student is there may be some other information related to student. Now one information is, for example, this table. Don't consider all this, you just see the first table. Now, if I want to know the student number, student class, student major, this information I would have stored in one file. And other file would consist of student fee details. Now this file I'll name it as student details. Student details dot some file I'll name it. In the other file, I would have stored the student fee payment details. So who is going to maintain that fee payment details of student? Who is going to maintain? Obviously, accountant is going to maintain, right?
Yes, sir.
Am I getting you?
Yes, sir.
Accountant is going to store that information. So now if we are keeping separate file for each and every operation or for each and every task, it involves lot of storage space. It involves lot of storage spaces. And ultimately the storage space will also be wasted. That is one disadvantage. And one more disadvantage is in traditional file processing system, if we are storing these details in separate files, it leads to redundancy. Now, some of the data that is there in the first file may also appear in the second file. This repetition of data leads to redundant data. Now, I don't want my memory space to be wasted or I don't want redundancy to happen. So I go with database approach. Now when it comes to database approach, there are certain characteristics of database approach. There are certain characteristics of database approach. What are the characteristics of database approaches? Characteristics of database approach. First characteristic is self-describing nature of a database system. Self-describing nature of a database system. Now, if you take up traditional file processing system, in traditional file processing system, self-describing nature of the database system is not present. How? Then how does a file define itself? How does a file describe itself? In such cases, whatever application programs you would have written to process the files, within those application programs only, we are going to define a structure. I hope you know what is a structure, right? You know what is structure?
Yes, sir.
What is a structure? Structure stores the information about the particular entity.
Particular entity.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
If you are a person, it is going to store your details. So in case of self-describing nature of traditional file processing system, the description is provided as a part of application programs only. Now, what are these application programs? Application programs are such kind of programs which helps in processing the file system. Now, whatever application programs we have written to process the file systems, as part of these application programs, we would have provided certain structures or objects or anything as such. Within those structures, I will keep the details about the files. That is one part. Now, how does a database describe itself? How does a database describe itself? Very simple. Database is going to have a catalog. Database will have catalog. Now, this is catalog. This is catalog. This is catalog. Database is going to store software to process queries or programs, software to access stored data, and how these data are stored, how these data are organized within the database. That information is provided with the help of database catalog. And whatever we store within the catalog, we will technically call it as DBMS database catalog. Metadata, sorry, whatever we store within the database catalog, we technically call it as metadata. Metadata is data about data. Am I clear till here? Nachiket?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. Now, what does a database catalog consist of? Now, this is a copy in a database catalog. I may have relation student. What do you mean by relation? Relation is nothing but table. Now, this database catalog consists of this entire information. This is student, course, section, grade report, prerequisite. Number of columns 4, 4, 6, 5, 6, 3, 2. Now, which are the columns we have? Column name we have. And what is the data type of that column we have? And
Hello.
yes, this is an information about the table, right? This is an information about the database. This is nothing but metadata. You can see student has 4 columns, course has 4 columns, and rest all have some number of columns. This is called as metadata. Who is going to contain this metadata? This metadata is contained within database catalog. Am I clear till here?
Data. Yes, sir.
Any confusions? If you have any confusions, you can ask me. Okay. Right. Now, the combination of database and DBMS.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, tell me, please.
Hello.
Yes, tell me. Can you hear me?
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now I can hear
I'll
you.
go as low as possible because there is a lot of network issue. Now, self-describing nature of a database system. So, the combination of DBMS, database, and database catalog can be termed as database system. This entire thing is called as database system. This is database, this is catalog, this is DBMS. Combination of all these 3 things are called as database system. Next feature is insulation between programs and data abstraction. Now, there are 2 concepts that you need to go through here or remember here. That is, one is program data independence. Program data independence. Now, how do we provide? In case of, now as I have told in the previous characteristic, in case of traditional file processing system, the database storage, self-describing, the database, the structure of the database is stored as a part of application programs only. That is program data independence. In case of DBMS approach, database management system approach, the data, the structure of the data is stored within the database catalog. In this database catalog, I'll store the structure of the data. That is nothing but program data independence. Next is program operation independence. What is program operation independence? Program operation independence is nothing but if you are going to store, if you are supposing I have an interface that is defined, if you would have studied in Java, there is a concept called as interface. Interface is a general body. It is a, you can say it as a generalization of a particular class, and whichever class is going to implement that interface, it can it will have the same, it will have the prototypes, sorry, it will interface will have the name of the interface, and it will have the database data types of the parameters that are passed to the interface. That is a general, it is like general class. Now if some class is going to implement that interface, I can implement however I want. I can change the methods, I can change the method signatures, I can include some of the methods, I can change the implementation. That is in case of object-oriented database approach. Object-oriented database approach, object-oriented programming concepts involves interfaces. That interface is a general body. It is a general body. You can tune it to whatever you wanted it to do. That is nothing but program operation independence. And the combination of program data independence and program operation independence can be termed as data abstraction. Am I clear with it, Nachiket?
Yes, sir.
Right. Next it says support of multiple views of the data. Now what do we mean by support of multiple views of the data? First of all, before venturing into the concept of support of multiple views of the data, we should know what is a view. View is nothing but virtual data or subset of data in a database. Now, supposing if I'm going to know what I'll be having lot of tables, you can see here. Okay, there are a lot of tables in this database. Sometimes what do I require is, I may want to combine these two tables and print one result, or I may want to combine these tables and print one result. In fact, after combining the two tables, whatever I get, that was not present before in the database. That is virtual in the database. That means only when I combine, it will be displayed in the result. It will be displayed on the result console, but it will not be present in the database. Those database tables which have been induced, which have been created by combining the two existing tables in the database, such tables are called as views. Now example for views, you can see this is actual tables in the database. Now if I'm going here, these are the views. I have combined different columns in the table and I have generated a particular table. So these are called as views. So one of the major importance of this database approach is it is going to support multiple views of the data or virtual views, virtual data of the database. It helps in outputting virtual data of the database, or it helps in providing subset of the database. Am I clear? Am I clear, Nachiket?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So the next characteristic is sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. Sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. Now what? Now supposing we can take an example for this characteristic. The example that we can take for this characteristic is supposing in a very simple word. Now, if I want to book a particular train, supposing if I want to go for Hyderabad tomorrow, and I want to book for a train, I want to get a train reservation ticket. So based on the number of available seats, I'm going to book a ticket. Only me, I will be going to Hyderabad. So I will book a ticket today on Tatkal basis. So what happens is, once I book a ticket, now I will be one agent for me. You will be the agent for me, and some other agent will be there for some other person. You as agent, you are going to book a particular table, seat that is available at that point of time. So I need to ensure that my database needs to ensure that if you are going to book a ticket from this end, from that end, he should not be able to access whatever seat you are accessing to. So once the seat is allotted to you, you should take the next seat within that database. Now, for example, video website, I'm going to video results. Now, if I'm going to get my video results, you will be accessing it from other end. I will be accessing video website from another end. I should not be able to access your result. Rather, you should access your result, and then afterwards I should access my result. Now, if all entities are trying to access the database at the same point of time, then whichever information that is applicable to particular entity, that application should be given to that entity, and whichever data that is applicable to this entity should be given to that entity. That is about sharing of data and multi-user transaction, and this terminology we call it as concurrency. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Concurrency. There is one more concept called isolation. Isolation means, now one person will be trying to book a ticket, another person will be trying to book a ticket. They both have to isolately, separately they need to book a ticket. This person will be having one line from database server to his browser. This person will be having one line from browser to database server. That is isolation. What is atomicity? Either the transaction, either everyone should access the transaction, or none of them should access the transaction. This is all about atomicity. Now, these are the concepts that come in sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. Am I clear with these concepts? Any confusion? If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Any doubts?
Sir, can you explain what is the second statement, sir?
Insulation between programs and data abstraction. Okay. Now, there are two concepts that comes in this characteristic, that is program data independence, and another one is program operation independence. What is program data independence? Program data independence is nothing but, now supposing if I'm going to access a particular data, what traditional file processing will do is, if for example in a traditional file processing system, if we will provide the data structure, that means structure of a particular database, will provide it as a part of application program only. As a part of application program only. In case of actual database approach, we are going to separate the structure of the data from the data by using DBMS catalog. We are going to use this catalog. In this catalog, we'll store the structure of data. Whereas in case of traditional file processing system, whatever data that we are going to provide a structure to it, that structure of that data will be provided as a part of application programs only. That is nothing but program data independence. And the second concept is program operation independence. What is program operation independence? Now, in your fourth semester subject, that is object-oriented concepts or object-oriented programming with Java, you would have learnt about interfaces, right? This interface is a general class. It is a generalized class. You are going to provide the name of the interface along with the data type of the parameters, and you are going to provide some methods. But the implementation for the methods within the interface will not be provided. You can define a general interface, and you can implement how you can use it to implement whatever methods you want to implement, however you want to tune, in what way you want to tune, in which way you want to tune. You can tune those interfaces. Interface is a general body. That general body, you will take it and you will implement it however you want it to be. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
No, sir, no doubts.
Okay. So next we shall go to three schema architecture. Three schema architecture. Now this three schema architecture involves three things here. You can see internal level, conceptual level, external or view level. What is internal level? Now internal level is nothing but whatever data you want to store. Whatever data you want to store, how you want to store, how you are going to store the data within the table. Now this uses physical model, physical data model. What is physical data model? Physical data model, it will be in the form of tables. It will be in the form of tables. That is, next is conceptual schema. What is this conceptual schema? Is apart from storing the data within the database, you are also going to provide the structure for the data. It involves database catalog. Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yes. Yes, sir.
This is external or view level. As I told you, what is a view? You would have understood the concept of view. View is nothing but if I'm going to take some, what do you say, some set of tables within the database, I'll combine two tables and I'll get the result. Only when you combine, you will get that table. Before combining of those two tables, that resultant table wouldn't have it wouldn't have come in the actual database. Of course, even after combining, you will not see that that resultant table in the database. Only you can see it on your output screen. It will not be updated in the database table. It is a view. It is a virtual table. That is what is the concepts of external view. This uses representational model. This uses conceptual model. Am I clear with it? So, if they ask you what is traditional file, what are the characteristics of database approach, how does it differ from traditional file processing system? Then you need to explain this step. You need to explain this step. You need to take up this diagram and explain this diagram. And you can take small tables of your own. And you can take for a DBMS catalog, you can take something like this. You can write relation name, number of columns, some 2-3 relations you mention, and which are the columns in particular relation, that you define it briefly. And you give some small examples of tables, and it is more than sufficient. You need to explain this 4 points. Usually they last for 8 to 10 marks. Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yes,
Any confusions in 3
yes,
schema
sir.
architecture? So in 3 schema architecture, these they will ask for 6 to 8 marks. You need to write this diagram. These diagrams are very important. Am I clear?
Yes,
Any
sir.
confusion? Okay. Next concept is, what are the responsibilities of database administrator and database designer? Database administrators and database designers. Database administrators and database designers. Now, who are these database administrators? Who are these database administrators? Now, supposing I will be a database admin. I'll be a database admin in one of the top software companies like Infosys. For example, I'll take a company Infosys. I'll work as a database admin. As a database admin, what is my work? As a database admin, what should I do? Supposing every person working in that Infosys company will be accessing to the same database. So I should have. So me as a worker, the company would have allocated the work to me in such a way that I need to coordinate the functions of the database that is present for that company. That means many people will be accessing to the same database. So what should I do? Me as a database administrator, my primary entity to be maintained is database. Primary thing to be maintained by me is database. Secondary thing to be maintained by me is DBMS. That is the functionality of database administrators. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is database designer going to do? Database designer is going to, he is mainly concerned with storing the data within the database and how to structure the data within the database. What is the structure of a particular data? He is going to store something inside the database and he will provide the structure for that database. Like he will use a database catalog. Now these are the responsibilities of database administrator and database designer. Am I clear with it?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
Any confusions?
No, sir.
Right.
What question would they ask for this, sir?
They will ask what are the responsibilities of DBA and database designer. It comes mainly for 4 to 5 marks. 5 to 6 marks you can take it. Usually not 6 marks also, 5 marks, maximum 5 marks. Database administrators, you need to mention the functionality. You need to mention the functionality for this. It's a complete theory question. Okay.
Yes.
Any confusion still now?
No, sir. No confusion.
Okay. Shall we wind up the session?
Yes, sir.
If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Another 10 minutes is remaining. After that, the Zoom meeting will end. Only 40 minutes is going to provide me.
Yes.
Yes, if you have any doubts, you can just let me know.
Sir, now how to explain this one, sir? The diagram that you are showing in the presently, that database
Okay, good
system.
question. Now, this diagram you don't need to explain. Nowhere they have provided the explanation. So they are not expecting you to explain these diagrams. In fact, you can take the explanation and you have to explain these tables. These tables you need to explain. This diagram explanation is not of much importance, but even then I'll tell how to explain. Okay, it is for your understanding purpose. You can tell what is DBMS. DBMS may be Oracle. Now you may be using some software, Oracle. Have you heard of Oracle?
Yes, sir. Oracle I have heard.
Oracle is one software. Okay. Now inside Oracle, there will be a software. You will be writing a lot of SQL queries, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You will be writing a lot
Yes,
of
sir.
SQL queries. There will be some software. That software will process those SQL queries. You can explain for this step. Then there will be separate software to access the stored data. Whatever data that is provided within the database, to access that data, there will be separate software, and there will be separate software to run our SQL programs. And there will be something called now these two combinations are called as DBMS. This is DBMS catalog, which stores data about database. If we combine DBMS database catalog, we term it as database system. Application programs or queries. Now whatever queries that we want to execute, we are going to provide it as an input to this software to programs queries or programs. Am I clear with it? Any doubts? Nachiket?
No, sir. No.
Yes. If you have any doubts, you can let me
No
know.
doubt, sir.
3 schema architecture, database administrators and database designers. So who was handling DBMS for you guys in Sai Vidya? Hello? Hello?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Who was handling DBMS for
Hello.
you guys?
Yes, sir.
Who was handling DBMS